Look, I'm looking forward to boxing coming back, Tessitore, and I'm actually looking forward to seeing Shakur Stevenson because he could be Mayweather's successor. Why? He's 13-0. Okay, he's a world champion, and he's one of those guys that's so hard to hit. He's a master at distance, reminding me of Mayweather Jr., Floyd Mayweather Jr. And I have to say this: if I was in my prime today, and if I had to fight this young man, it would be horrible because I couldn't get close to hit this young man. He's one of those guys that are just so hard to hit, and he's fantastic to watch.
That's Caraballo's problem now. That'll be his problem come June 9th. Mark?
Timmy, don't worry about it. You're in good company. Since 1992, 17 American men have medaled at the Olympics. 11 went on to win professional titles. Their average age, 27. Shakur's 22. The only two guys who were younger than Shakur, De La Hoya and the aforementioned Mayweather. The difference is, at this juncture in their careers, Shakur is actually more difficult to hit than Mayweather. You recall the Joet Gonzalez fight last November in which he won the title. Joet's plan, he was longer than Shakur, was to begin with the jab. He jabbed all night, 12 rounds, hit him with 4 jabs. That's incredible. This guy doesn't get hit by the most basic punch in boxing.
Yeah, he completely outclassed him. That was for the vacant belt that night last fall. Bernardo.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to that March 14th fight where he was supposed to defend his world title for the first time against Miguel Marriaga. Flew out to New York. Everybody was ready to go. It was supposed to be a great doubleheader with the March 17th fight featuring Mick Conlan. And then COVID-19 happened. And I think he's been chomping at the bit to get back in the ring. We've seen him keep training with Kay Koroma as well as his uncle, his grandfather, Wally Moses. He never skips a beat. He's disciplined. He knows what's at stake. And yes, this is a stay busy fight for Shakur Stevenson, but he understands that if not the end of this year, next year will be a wonderful time for him to step up against the big names in boxing, be it at 26 for a couple more fights or 130, which beckons because he's a growing kid at just 22 years old, and I just cannot wait to see what his progression will be as a world champion.
Yeah, and to that point, I think it's very appropriate that it's Shakur Stevenson who headlines the first fight card back, the return of boxing, because if you said to me, who's the biggest lock over the next 10 to 12-year period to maintain this status and to grow alongside the sport, it would be Stevenson. So he will get things started on June 9th. But Mark Kriegel, what else intrigues you on this card?
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing the last guy to beat Shakur Stevenson. That would be Robesi Ramirez, a Cuban fighter who made it out with some peril a couple of summers ago and then lost, completely collapsed in his pro debut. I mean, you cannot deny this guy's talent. He has 2 gold medals. He's beaten Shakur, and that's not ancient history, 2016. He's beaten Michael Conlan. He's beaten the guy who is now the number 3 in the WBC. This guy has talent. He's now paired with Ismael Salas, the great Cuban coach. He has 2 knockouts since that inexplicable loss. I'd really like to see what's left of this guy and if he can still do some damage in the division and maybe in other divisions.
I will never forget that night in Philly. He's making his pro debut. He's hyped beyond hype. The story of how he was even to get his freedom stateside is amazing. And then he goes down with a knockdown the first round, and I think even he was in disbelief, and he could never recover in that 4-rounder. Now 2 wins later, we get to see him on this card with Stevenson. Bernardo.
You know what? I remember vividly being at the Rio Olympics in 2016, and there was 2 fighters that caught Floyd Mayweather's eye. Shakur Stevenson, who he wanted to sign, there was no secret, and the other was Robesi Ramirez. And I remember being there and Ramirez going up to Floyd Mayweather and Floyd speaking to him. I was actually helping him translate at that point, and he really wanted him to be a part of the TMT team because he saw the talent. So to see him go down almost a year ago in his pro debut was completely unexpected. And I think what he does now, picking up his career and understanding probably faster than anybody else, any of the other Cubans, be it Rigondeaux or even a guy like Yuriorkis Gamboa, the need to change their style into a pro style. He had to do that quick step, and we'll see how he picks up the pieces and moves forward because the talent is there.
Speaking of Olympians, Michaela Mayer on the card, Bernardo.
Yeah, Michaela Mayer, she was really looking forward to fighting on March 17th in New York. She was one day away from traveling to New York when the news came to her that not only was initially she supposed to fight with no people in the stands, then they canceled the entire fight card. So she was disappointed, went back home to Colorado Springs, was hanging out with Team USA captain Jeannie Fuchs, and they had a good time, and then it was time to get back to work. So they both drove to Washington, D.C. to train with Kay Karoma, and they've been doing that. A week and a half ago, they moved camp over to Texas. On Monday, Al Mitchell went from Michigan to join the team, and Michaela seemed a little bit concerned because of Mitchell's age, but he wanted to be there to see the last few weeks of her closing camp to, facilitate breaking down the opponent and formulating the game plan. And now she's ready to go and as anxious as ever to maintain that undefeated record against an opponent who comes in with 3 world title losses, and against Pursoon was her last fight, who's one of the best fighters in the world, a unified champion. So she's not going to be an easy opponent.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.